Wood. Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the City Council meeting, and if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation, this evening will be brought by Councilman Mark Thompson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Father, as we go through the streets of our town, we see progress. We see moving forward. And Father, we thank you for that. We recognize that. We see the new sidewalks and the building that's going on, and we thank you. Father, as we as leaders of the city, we try to look forward, but there's no way we know what lies in the future, but you do. So because of that, we ask for your guidance. We ask for your wisdom. We ask that you lead each one of us. And tonight we invite your presence among us. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Where did you?
Sit down, my father.
You did it.
Well,
Yeah.
the two, okay?
Do self toast.
No, you
You did it.
All right, rolling right along, we'll have an opportunity for those of who that would like to address the City Council about items not on tonight's agenda. If there's anyone who would like to stand and address the City Council? Seeing none, we'll roll right along to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes the minutes of the July 22nd, 2019 City Council meeting, claims for city operation, claims for Public Housing Authority, Tiblo Days public use request, Tiblo Days carnival permit, and the Tiblo Days beer garden. Anything to be pulled by the citizens or concerns? Staff? Questions or clarifications for the council? Yes?
I can't believe how much detail is needed to get Tiblo Days set up, okay, the different licenses. It is incredible.
Yep.
My praise to anyone who has anything to do with it.
Seeing nothing else, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second. So moved and seconded, vote please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes,
Reeves,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Gurley. Yes. Motion passes.
Very good. On to our regular meeting agenda, our first item, which is the public hearing for the Kansas Water Public Supply Loan Fund and water meter upgrade. Staff.
Good evening. Move that around easily in there. Frank Abart, Public Works Director. All of the information we provided, I think, provides a pretty good summary. Essentially, there was an idea that was started probably 10 years ago related to upgrading our water meters so that they could be read in a more efficient and effective way using radios as opposed to the old style where you open them up and you had to actually read a number and record it and things of that nature. And it was a great idea. Unfortunately, it didn't quite progress as quickly, I think, as anybody anticipated. And we're now at the point where we are actually getting rid of some of the very first ones that were put in because they're out of date. They're so far. I mean, 10 years with technology might as well be 100 years. And so what this request essentially is a public hearing related to a KDHE loan to help us bring consolidation and probably what I'd say organization to our meter reading madness, maybe I call it. Because right now we got at least 3 different models and types out there. And of course you have the older ones where you have made adjustments and bridges in technology to have them adapt to where you can read them today. And as Tilly can attest, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And there's about 3 different reads that take place every month. And there's probably between 50 and 100 rereads that have to take place after each one of those rounds. And so we hope that if this is approved, and money's pulled together, that we can consolidate an awful lot of this and, just be more efficient and effective and up to date with technology. You want me to get into the details of?
Not right yet.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks.
This action requires a public hearing, and I would go ahead and entertain a motion to open a public hearing for the Kansas Public Water Supply Fund beginning at 7:37.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is open. Those that would like to make comments, any specific comments from the citizens concerning this loan fund? Staff, anything additional to add concerning the $500,000 loan? The loan repayment terms of 10 years at 2.27% with an annual payment total will be around $57,000. Very good.
That's correct.
Anyone else that'd like to speak in regards to this Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund for the water meter upgrade? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing at 7:38.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:38.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion to close public hearings closed. Now, do we need to take action on the fund?
Yes, number 2.
Oh, number 2, sorry. Yeah.
That'd be the next item.
Now, we're rolling right along to regular meeting agenda item number 2, the resolution for the application for the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund and for water meter upgrade. Sir?
So at this point, taking into consideration all of the public input and all of the information that you brought up as well as I did, about the only thing I could add is that we have about 2,854 meters in the system. This project is anticipated to replace about 1,300 of those meters as part of the process. Beyond that, I'd entertain any questions anybody's got, and I'm recommending or requesting approval of this.
Very good, we'll start right here.
Of the remaining meters.
I get a motion first, or?
Yes,
those-
hold on. I'm sorry. Councilman Reeves.
I'll make a motion to approving the resolution authorizing staff to apply for a Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Now we can have discussion. I'm sorry.
That's We all commit.
Yes.
Speak for yourself.
Of the remaining meters, how many of those will still need to be replaced almost immediately?
None of them, because they are of the brand and type that it actually will be upgraded at least over the next 5 years, because they're from the same manufacturer, so they won't need to be replaced as part of this process. 10 years from now, yeah, they're probably going to need to be replaced. It's just how fast technology is changing in any digital world.
Answer the question.
I don't have any questions because I'm impressed.
That's mine, I'm good.
Seeing nothing else, no other questions, concerns, comments, vote please.
Kip?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurley? Yes. Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to exciting item number 3, the public hearing for the 2019 budget amendments and the 2020 budget. Do you want to introduce this prior to our public hearing? Staff?
Thank you. Entirely up to you guys.
Please just introduce it and then we'll open the public hearing.
this wonderful PowerPoint. Right there.
Okay, we're just gonna go over, if you have any questions, you can just holler at me, but just briefly what we've been going over since basically May of, I can get this. Okay, we started the budget, 2020 budget process in May with historical financial data to department heads and budget managers. We met with the council in June, on June 10th, to go over kind of a financial overview based on what we knew at that point, which was mostly historical information. We met with department heads again. They did their budget request for 2020 and presented it to myself and the city manager, and we went through that. And then in July, we went through the general fund and the special revenue and enterprise funds. We also talked about the multi-year capital and equipment plans that we started last year. On the 22nd, council approved the notice of public hearing, which we're having tonight. That was published in the paper on July 25th with the maximum expenditures that we could allow in the 2020 budget and the estimated ad valorem tax. So tonight we're conducting the public hearing, and after that the council will adopt the 2020 budget, and we will certify it with the county by August 24th. This is a historical view of the city as a whole and the city and all of the jurisdictions mill levies. We have 2005, the city was at 30.246, 2010, 24.743. We have split out the city and the city library because lots of cities, their library is separate. So kind of an apples to apples comparison when we're looking at the city's mill levy versus other cities. Lots of times that doesn't include the library. So this just shows you a comparison. It shows the school districts, the community college, the state. So as you can see, the city's portion is a small portion of the total tax bill that the taxpayers pay. Our mill levy combined, the city and the city library, this year for 2020 will be the same as 2019 based on the current estimated valuations. Any questions on this slide?
This could be for you and or Sean. Is there any room in the budget already for money to be spent to repair Spring Creek with the rock that's deteriorating and so forth?
That's something that we've talked about as far as the stormwater plan. That's obviously a big component of our overall stormwater system. Right now, and this gets into one of the items later on the agenda, I think it's actually the last item, is that financially we do not have a lot of flexibility to do anything on the stormwater side of the equation, up to and including staff. So at this point, to answer your question directly, it doesn't have any money for that. However, there are steps being taken, including that stormwater master plan that we completed, to start to prioritize and then identify how much is it going to cost on average for either a commercial business or a residential home to pay into a fee. We do have a fee right now, but again, that's not.
That's why I thought there was a fee with that too.
Yeah, so that will be something, again, that's item number 5 on the regular agenda today, is to actually have that reviewed by a third party to give us an idea of what the impact of that fee needs to be in order to do the projects that have been laid out in the master plan.
I'll probably bring up a few more points on that in my portion.
Sure, absolutely.
So where do your city property taxes go? 64% go to general fund, 24% goes to pay off debt, and 12% goes to the library. Goals for 2020 were pretty much the same as they were last year. Provide a high level of quality service, continue street and sidewalk maintenance, balancing our revenue expenditures and maximizing carryover and contingencies. Last year, we established some multi-year capital improvement and equipment reserve plans, and this budget provides funding for those future capital and equipment needs. Total 2020 budget for all funds is $21,337,418. We take a conservative budget approach as we have in the past. 10% of our general fund is budgeted for contingencies, which we have done since 2017. And this helps with eliminating any mid-year cuts. It also, or any unforeseen revenues. We've also used that in the past, last year and this year. We'll hope to use any of that carryover to fund some of our capital needs and equipment needs. Starting in 2018, the cities were capped on how much we could levy for taxes. There's a CPI that the state gives us each year. This year it was 1.5%. So we take our tax revenue that we levied last year, and we can't go over that CPI amount. We can go over it for any new improvements. The new improvements percentage that we were able to capture was about 2.3%. We can capture for some public safety, and so we were able to go ahead and we captured about an extra $188,000, and I think about 115 was due to the CPI and the new improvements. The balance mostly went to fire this year. It's a little hard to read, but our valuations, the estimates given to us by the county increased by about 6.6%. Our revenues from 19 to 20, we're estimating at about $350,000 more, mostly due to fines increasing and that property valuation increased. Transfers, we have transfers coming in from the utility funds at 5% of revenue to help fund the general fund administrative costs. And our total projected revenue for 2020 is $8.8 million.
You have a 2.4% increase in sales tax. Is that?
Yes, that's from the budgeted amount.
Budgeted.
We're actually up about 4.75% through July.
Actual.
For city and county. County we've got projected about the same, but actual through July over last year through July we're up about 4.75%.
That's great. Better than our surrounding neighbors.
Yes.
Especially the south of
It
us.
helps when the economy is good.
This just shows where our budgeted general fund revenues come from. Sales tax is 30% of our revenue, and property taxes 18%. For the 2020 budget, we're projecting to carry over about 28% carry up reserves to fund our 2020 budget. 6% comes from casino revenue, 6% from franchise, and 9% from miscellaneous other revenues.
That's a quick question. I know this is kind of looking down the road a little bit, but are we doing anything contingency-wise in case the suit for dark stores is won by those who filed it, and all of a sudden we have to reimburse any of those property taxes that we collected?
we haven't done anything.
Okay.
I haven't really looked at, I mean,
I didn't know what the impact was going to be on us potentially.
I don't believe our Walmart's part of it.
Well, at Walmart, Price Chopper, you're going to have several, any big box store is going to potentially
Well,
fall into
But
that.
would they have had to
That's
appeal
what I'm saying,
those?
is those haven't filed for.
I'm not sure how that with Dark Store, if they had to appeal it or not. I'm not sure how that works.
They have to individually file at the county level to protest their taxes.
So if they haven't appealed, then whether that Dark Store,
It
they're
would not affect in the past, it would affect in the future.
Gotcha. Unless you've appealed it, then it would affect.
I think there's, to your point, there's several in Johnson County to talk to. When I went to the tax thing in Topeka, there's several in Johnson County that worry about it. She told me that our Walmart had not given her any inclination of trying to fight it.
And those are typically, so the Board of Equalization at the county level, you have to go through that protest process. I know one in particular, it's outside of Bonners, has been a casino. A big issue, and that certainly impacts our school district. But again, that doesn't, I haven't heard of any at this point. But again, part of what we've done for the last couple of years is continue to carry contingencies at a higher level than I would say is typical, and that's because of some of these continual
Well, it
adjustments.
could hurt us in the future, but since there was no protest done, it won't be a case where we have to worry about returning funds that have been distributed to us.
Not
In
not-
2020.
Yeah, not,
and like this, I mean, the last couple of years, we, last year and in this year's budget, we got about 1.8 that were put into those capital funds. So, it may be that we have to relook at some of those to adjust and because of our contingency, so we budget, hopefully.
Isn't our Walmart still receiving benefits from its TIF?
They weren't a TIF.
Or they were under the TIF
The
area?
Walgreens area is,
Oh,
they're
okay.
not Walmart.
Gotcha.
Sales tax, that's, as I said, our biggest source of revenue. Our current sales tax is 9.25%. The city's rate, that's overall, the city's rate is 1.75%. 1.25% of that goes into the general fund, and then 1/4% goes for the emergency services, sales taxes, capital, and then another 1/4% for just overall capital improvement fund, which we've spent usually on streets. This just shows a chart. In 2017 was when the library tax fell off, and we took that 1/4% and put it into the general fund. So that's why you see that going up in that year. County sales tax is pretty, this is sales and use tax, it's pretty level. And again, it looks like 2018 was higher than what we're budgeting. 2019 and 2020, we just were conservative on our projections. But like I said, right now we're at 4 3/4 above where we were last year through July.
Why is the county sales tax almost steady?
I don't know, it
Within
just,
$1,000.
yeah, we just get a piece of the counties, and I know a lot of the Legends area is, well, we get this, anything that's in the Star Bond, we actually get our piece, so I don't know, it's just pretty level. We don't get any details on
That's just
sales.
very suspicious. It's one of the couple $1,000 every year.
You don't know something?
Yeah.
Just saying.
He says.
That
Bizarre to me.
includes, that's Johnson County and Wyandotte County.
Is that, so has it been that way forever? I mean, really close within,
yeah, I think when we were looking at 14, it was always hovering around just below $2 million.
Since the unified government, probably.
oh, yeah, that's strange. It's consistent.
Government consistent.
This just shows our assessed value and how it's increased from 2016, we were at 69,500,000, and next year's estimated is 83,200,000. So we've had, I think, 6% increases the last 2 years, estimated increases. We'll get our actual evaluations in October, and that could fluctuate the mill levy up or down a little bit, depending on if the valuations are higher, the mill levy will go down a little bit. If they're lower, it could go up a little bit. Usually doesn't change a lot.
With the rezoning of the stealth bomber area to mixed use, are they gonna be reassessing that? Do you know, or adding that in?
Well, I wouldn't think that would impact us until the 2021 budget,
Gotcha.
because the valuations that we're using now were actually values at January 1 of 2019.
Okay.
So,
There's no possible way our valuations have gone down this year, right?
Oh,
No.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, you were saying the mill levy could go up if it was below,
Well,
you're
like
talking below your
the 80,
projection.
Right, right.
what we use
I
to,
was like, there's no.
what we used for the taxes we needed was the 83
Okay,
million.
I
Yeah.
understand.
These are expenditures, 2018 actual, 2019 budget, and 2020 proposed. As you can see, in 2019, we started the capital improvement and equipment reserve funds, and so we're putting quite a bit of our carryover that we had into those funds to fund capital and equipment reserve needs. The fire department, like I said, was where we got to capture some of that tax without increasing the mill levy because it was for public safety. There were some positions that moved around a little bit, within departments, so you'll see a little bit of change within departments there.
Is that the difference in
Projected.
the recreation?
Is that what?
The difference in the recreation, is that a,
The recreation, we moved the maintenance staff to public works.
Projecting a pretty big increase in municipal court.
We added we actually added the jail cost to municipal court. So typically that was in the police department, to have a little bit more accountability onto that. And I think that was $90,000.
Right, and then the police department, we took the codes enforcement officer, went from that department to the community and economic development department. So some of those positions were just shifted to where they're being, to fit better into the departments.
We've housed most of our people that need to be incarcerated in Wyandotte County or Johnson County.
Why not?
What happened in is that miscellaneous that I'm reading that was only 8,000 something and then it, whee!
That's,
That's our contingency that we hope that we don't have to spend.
Okay,
That
got it.
helps us with our carryover.
So it's just a change within the budget.
Yeah, the 2018's actual. The other two are just our budgeted amounts.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But that's what, you think it'll be at the end of 2019?
we,
For the
That's our maximum budget that we can spend in 20. That's for expenditures in 2020.
so that gives us the flexibility at the beginning of the year to have cash on hand to do projects as part of the thought process there. And we've been trying to shift that. One example that we're going to have to work through this year and into next year is we'd like to bid out our street projects sooner than later. We haven't done that yet for this year's money, And part of the hiccup was that we don't get the cash until the middle part of the year, more often than not. So it enabled for us to have the operational cash flow and then to also have the capital cash flow, we've been able to set aside some of the money into the miscellaneous bucket, so to speak. So that, more often than not, like 2018 actual, that's, we might have to move some money around, but we hope to have that at zero moving forward.
Our street program, but don't we usually bid that and then we take the lowest bid, maybe we have to do it later in the year?
Part of it has been, more often than not, we like to do street bidding at the end of the year or the early part of the year when contractors are trying to set up their schedule for that year. So that can create some issue. Again, right now, we're going to be bidding out a project and they already have their slate full. So our prices assumably might be a little bit higher. So if we're doing our street program, say at the end of the year, when again contractors or when everybody else is doing it, we're all competing against one another. And Frank and I and Tilly have kind of talked about transitioning to do it that way, just again, so that we can get more bang for our buck and try to get the best contractors we can at the lowest cost that we can. And then you're driving on a nice surface for a couple of months before it snows, as opposed to now, which we hope it doesn't snow when we put the street down.
Well, you're the guy we hired to make sure all that's happens as cheap as it can. I just had questions because I didn't know.
Yeah, and that's, and again, that's just kind of one of these little operational changes, is just trying to get all the pegs in the right spot, so to speak.
Well, we've been trying to do that for several years now, and having that money available earlier in the budget cycle. And that's the challenge, not, the contractors and the prices, those all fall in line with that early availability of those contract or budget funds.
And that capital fund helps us do that now too, because that's just sort of a permanent state, like Billy was mentioning. That money we're carrying over year after year and trying to build up funds, so if we have to draw it down on our bank account, so to speak, we know that money will go back when we collect it through taxes.
And this is just a pie chart of the different departments, percentages that are spent on each department. Police is 27%, that's our biggest piece of the pie, and then we've got fire at 10%. Our capital and equipment transfers are a big piece of it. And those, like I said, we've got now a 4 to 5 year plan on spending those, and they'll be reviewed every year. For utility funds, budgeted carryover from 19 to 20. Water fund, this is estimated at 5 months operating expenditures. That actually should be 2020 to 2021. And then wastewater is 2 months, so that's kind of lower than what we'd like it to be. We've got a budgeted 4% increase in water and wastewater in April of 2020 based on the last study that was done. And as Sean said on the agenda tonight, we're requesting that we do another study with our new our rate analysis based on the new studies that we have. So
Stormwater.
for storm and water and wastewater, right? So our amendment, we have 3 funds that we're proposing to amend. The street fund, there was some street maintenance, I think mostly for CES that we didn't spend in 2018 that we'll need to spend in 2019. So we'll need to amend that budget. The wastewater fund, there was some manhole replacements budgeted in 2018 that we didn't get done, that will be done in 2019. And then the water fund, the Santa Fe water line was budgeted in 18 and needs to be spent in 19. We also are needing to put in the Cedar Pump water line for the building project. And then we have some additional water purchases from BPU and distribution maintenance supplies just because of some issues at the plant, I believe. That's it. Any questions?
Very good. Thank you. We'll go ahead and, this requires a public hearing. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the 2019 budget amendments and the 2020 budget beginning at 8:07.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And now I'd like to ask for comments from the public. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of our budget? Anyone that would like to speak against? Opposed? Any other questions or concerns? Any other, not pro or con? Give everyone that opportunity. Seeing, yes, please, yes.
Understand
Yes,
all the official stuff.
yep.
Tracy Brooks, 507 Linda Lane, Bottom Springs, Kansas. Is this budget, is there public information that we can get on that as far as the numbers? Looking at them other than just what was on the screen?
Yes, there's, I think. in the
How do
city
we
clerk's-
attain that information? Pardon me?
You can contact me.
The
Contact-
city clerk.
And you'll provide it written, but thank you.
Fascinating.
And it'll eventually be available through all of our information channels. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing at 8:08.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing's closed. We'll move on to the item number 4, which is to approve the 2019 budget amendments and the 2020 budget and establish maximum expenditures. Staff, you want to?
Nothing to add beyond what was provided in the public hearing. Again, this is just a motion to approve the 2019 budget amendments that were presented, as well as establishing the budget and the maximum expenditures for the 2020 budget.
Very good, thank you. I would entertain a motion to adopt the 2019 budget amendments and the 2020 budget.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the 2019 budget amendments and the 2020 budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? We'll start over here, sir.
As our wastewater reserves, memory tells me it was more than 2 months at one point. Am I misremembering?
They have been more than that. Is that a good question?
That was my question.
Yes.
And we've needed to tap into that for various things.
Yeah, we've had some
One
things that,
thing in particular, I think just operationally that's drawn it down is that the city has, in the past, budgeted a lot of the personnel costs in the water utility, up to including, I think, most of the maintenance staff. So this is somewhat of a correction year as we shifted some of that staff to be split between water and wastewater. Again, that gets back to this last item, which is that rate analysis. We can't run the wastewater plant and the system without having staff. So to accurately reflect the cost of that utility, we need to have that budgeted appropriately. Additionally, we have had and continue to have malfunctions, would be putting it delicately, on those systems, both the distribution system of our water, the plant, as we talked about at the last council meeting, and its current state of affairs, The wastewater plant is in much better condition than the water plant. However, the system that we have built out, lift stations, grinder pumps, just overall the system is in need of some love. So, yeah.
On the 2020 budget, is there allocation for the North Park bathrooms?
Yep, so when we went through the capital improvement plan, there was another round of funding to go towards that. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. It was roughly, I think, $150,000, somewhere around there. So that's building up that fund, which again is that point of that capital outlay. Say we maybe can't afford to do this year, but we can at least set aside the funds this year and next year. So I think the hope is to start to, probably at the end of 2020, assuming that we have, this is going to be enough where we're at financially, to start to review exactly what that is. So it goes back to that Parks Master Plan. Is that a just a standalone bathroom, or is that a bathroom with a concession stand, all of those things? So again, I think that's, to answer your question, yes, there's money. It continues to build up that account to pay for that project, and hopefully we can start to really thoroughly review that in the latter part of 2020.
We're not even building in 2020.
No, I think the estimated cost for that bathroom in the Parks plan was $300,000, somewhere around there.
Wow. Is that with concessions, or that's just a bathroom?
I believe it has concession or the ability to basically open up a smaller area. Part of the obstacle there is, part of the question, I guess, is with that bathroom, are we extending sanitary service line to get there? Or are we looking at vaulted toilets? There's an option, a lot of companies, especially for these types of situations, will build sort of a, I don't want to call it cast in place, but a pre-built facility that you can just drop there versus more of a stick built. So again, we're still, I think, really in the preliminary stages as to what that will look like. But again, that Parks Master Plan has identified at least an ideal spot to place that, and then ultimately gave us a rough cost. But we all know that the costs will soon go up once we start to talk about it.
Okay.
Nothing additional here.
Nothing additional.
Great. Well, I compliment the staff and all the council's hard work on questions and the concerns that everyone has, and keeping the budget this year with no mill rate increase. Like I made mention before, with this Government Services Center, we planned on a multi-year increase in our mill rate, and through our good fortune, are surviving this year with no increase in our mill rate. So I expect that there will have to be an increase to accommodate those expenses next year. Hopefully not as big as what we originally thought, but this is a great windfall, and it's because of the forward-looking considerations of the different financing vehicles or types of financing that we're using, as well as the timing of the payments for the Government Services Center and how they fall. So this has been a long, hard, concerted effort, and I appreciate the professionalism curriculum. Seeing no other questions or concerns, I'd ask for a vote, please.
Gurley?
Yes.
Yes. Mackey?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And if I was asked, oh, on to number 5, which, yeah, that's where we're at. Agreement for water and wastewater and stormwater rate analysis. We've alluded to already. Do you have staff wanting to address this?
As many of you recall, we conducted a rate analysis a few years ago, and that was a follow-up to a rate analysis that we did about 10 years prior to that. Now that we've completed master plans for water, wastewater, and stormwater, now is the time to again reevaluate what those rates are based on the projects that have been identified in the master plans. That's in addition to the operational costs that we have to run all three of those utilities. So we have reached out to Carl Brown. He's the individual that completed the last 2 rounds of these analyses. Again, in 2006 and then 2016, he has provided that quote to do all 3 of these analyses: is water, wastewater, and stormwater. He's got it at a total cost not to exceed $21,173. Again, Carl does, I think, a great job. The familiarity with our system is a benefit, as well as our staff. That's why we are recommending to work with him. The hope would be that we would have this completed by the end of the year, early part of next year, so that if we do need to make any adjustments to the 2020 budget prior to what we had slated to go into effect in April 2020, that we would be able to do that with enough time to review his studies, have public input into it, and then ultimately choose to act or not act on that, and again, make any adjustments that we need to for 2020 on the project side. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Anything else to add by the citizens? Questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve an agreement with Carl Brown representing GettingGreatRates.com to perform a utility rate analysis for the water, wastewater, and stormwater funds for a cost not to exceed $21,173.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments from the commission? Council, sir?
Will that include more analysis off the master plan regarding should we be in that business and all that kind of stuff? Or does that not really get you further down that road?
Not necessarily. I think it will provide us a little bit better of an understanding of what those costs would need to be to remain in that business. We did have a conversation, Tilly, Frank, and I, and Carl, about 2 weeks ago, where we asked some of those questions, and he'll be able to provide us, I think what we asked him to do is to basically extrapolate that kind of cost out, especially on the water plant conversation, and say if we added this as a rider, some fee that's on your bill that says you're getting charged X amount, it's going towards this specific item, what is that going to be in order to have a 20-year loan at whatever percent at $6 million. So we will be able to glean from that and not affect, I think, the other bigger, not bigger, but just as big issues that we need to have our operational costs here, and we need to have our capital projects just to maintain here. So we'll be able to get that again, to answer the question directly.
Yeah, it seems like we're getting a lot of data, about the different, the master plan, as well as some decisions, at least intelligent decisions can be made off of that.
Yeah, and he does, if you recall, he comes in and provides a pretty thorough review of his analysis, because he gets, I think our report is still available online from 2016, but there is a lot of data here. And that's, again, sort of this domino effect of a lot of the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years is, trying to figure out operationally what are we doing long-term in terms of capital projects and maintenance of our systems, and then what are we trying to do to build this system out and get it to where we want to be. So it's, to your point, it's going to be to have somebody, a third party like Carl, come in and provide that type of review, I think is extremely valuable to the city and the residents to have that sort of objective view of what we need.
So we can put that charge to him, kind of just say, what would you do? Given your experience, doesn't mean we can act on it or anything. I just.
I don't know if he would necessarily provide that type of, analysis necessarily. I think the decision still falls on the council ultimately as to whether or not, it's the right thing to do to remain in business. I think the last council meeting, what we gleaned from the council was that we want to stay in the water business, and we need to do what we need to do that beyond the minimum. Again, the minimum would be making some point repairs at our utility system, our water plant right now, but that's only going to get us so far. What we need, and I think what came out of the master plan, was that the residents would like to see an improved water quality, and that comes with a new plant, absent whether or not we get into softening, because that's another part of that question too, is at the end of the day, we want to have good, clean water that people are getting right now, and we want to maintain that. Do we want to improve on that by softening it, and what is that cost going to be? And we have some of those figures right now, so it's, again, we'll be able to extrapolate out with those numbers through him, but as far as, the ultimate decision, I think the buck ultimately stops with you all as to what you think needs to happen to remain in the water business.
Sure, I wasn't given the decision, and I just was curious with his knowledge and looking at it, he can break the numbers down a lot of different ways and say, you can do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
At least offers his professional opinion, because I'm certainly not knowledgeable, and that's what
And I think, part of that will certainly come, I think, from conversations that we'll have internally too. Frank, I, Tilly, others. I think giving you guys our opinion professionally as to what makes sense is kind of why we're here. But I think we need this information from Carl on the analytical side that he offers on the rates to have a better idea of saying, you know what, the value of producing our own water and distributing that is great, but is it worth $20 extra a month to do that?
That's what he's going to tell us.
Yeah. That's what he's going to give us.
That's valuable. Thanks.
I really appreciate it. Guarantee if you are not satisfied with our work, don't pay us, and get in touch with me. I will do my best to, and nobody has ever invoked this, I appreciate it after all of the other things that were in there, that the human touch of, I want to do the best I can.
He's very personable. In 2016, that's the best I remember him. He was very personal. Nothing else? Vote please.
Kip,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yes.
Shannon,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Gurley,
Yes?
Mackey,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
motion passes.
Very, very good. On to our reports, the first of which are city manager's report.
Just a continual reminder, Tiblo Days is coming up.
What?
Starting here on
What's that?
August 22nd. You may have noticed some of the things you approved earlier in the meeting. But again, a great event. The Rainmakers are going to be in town. The city chamber have been advertising that, so you do see that on the billboards around 435, I-70. Trying to get a bunch of people in town for that. Also want to note that the utility drop box that has been relocated up to 3rd Street, we have bagged that and are asking folks if they still need to do nightly drops to do that at UVT. Again, do that either, do not use cash, basically. And then also wanted to note, I did provide a schedule in the city manager report for the I can't remember exactly when it was put together, July, so it was a little outdated, but I did get an updated schedule that I passed out before the meeting for both the City Hall, 1918 building, and then the police facility, just with some high water marks as far as projects timeline is concerned, or milestones rather. They are showing this substantially completed. That'll be about the middle part of September of next year on this project. So again, that's for your guys' use. Also wanted to note, we have the city staff have been having conversations with the county of Leavenworth. They are conducting a comprehensive plan renewal going on. So city staff, Amber, and then Rachel met with them and their consultant to go over their sort of expectations as far as what's going on in Leavenworth. This stems back to some of the conversations that we've had previously with regards to how we extend our sanitary service to the western part of the community, water as well, and then just overall just trying to coordinate things a little bit better. We also are looking at updating our comprehensive plan next year as well, so this is good timing for all concerned. Along that, I also met with UG staff last week regarding the Loring service area. That continues to be a topic of conversation. Part of what I've asked them to do, them being UG, since those are in fact county residents out there, and we, the city, are the service provider out there, is for them to tell us what services they want us to provide out there. Case in point would be something like animal control. We don't have the authority to go out and do animal control, so I only bring this up so that the individuals that do live out in Loring are aware that this conversation is occurring, and that if they continue to want to have city-type services, that's something that, again, I think is a conversation that the UG has to tell us, the city of Bonner, what those are, and then we can move forward accordingly. Right now, it's a pretty bad agreement as far as what the original intent was in 1991 when it was put together versus where we are at today. So again, I just want everybody to be aware that that continues to be something we're working on. So with that, concludes my report.
Almost a 30-year-old document that needs to be professionally modernized. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and ask for city council items, and we'll start over here.
No, thank you.
I mentioned last meeting about the community needs assessment survey, and out of that continues to grow an effort that really is exciting. A group, they're calling it Community Action Coalition. Abe at the United Methodist Church, an intern there, is creating a website. And this website's not populated, and I apologize, I should have sent it to Chris and she could send it out. I have the link to it. If you want to copy this down, it's the https://:/ Spark, well, that
Don't worry about the
website, yeah. Spark, spark.adobe.com/page/ and then here's the part I'll go through. 5, and I think case matters in there. So 5, lowercase k, lowercase z, O, lowercase, and then 2, uppercase W, lowercase b, 6, lowercase k, f, h, and then uppercase KB, and then /. Now, I'll ask Chris, I'll try to get it to her as she sends it out to her. Take a look at this. This gets pretty sharp. And this is a pretty neat site. And again, it's just not for the churches coming together. The way this is set up is you start scrolling through this, and it has pictures of Bonner. Very, very good. You might want to use them during the mayor's banquet.
Yeah.
Instead of joke. No, that was
Was that instead of a joke?
But it breaks the needs down for people if they want to do an individual service, and you don't have to be part of a congregation. This can be anybody. This is community-wide. Or it can be done by church congregations. It's short-term, long-term. This fellow has done a really outstanding job. Now, in the short-term future here, they're trying to populate that. And we're still working on that, and they're having meetings in a couple of weeks. But yes, can you scroll up on that? And it talks, this paragraph underneath is really neat. It just says basically what I said about if you want to get involved in your community, here's how you do it. Okay, now see your first one will have the different ones if you want to do a one-day, one-person project. And then it just goes on from there with the different categories. You just keep scrolling up. And I thought the pictures were outstanding. This is really a...
Yeah.
Also, Leanne Dittar Newbert is going to present at our next meeting. We're continuing the effort with the chaplain program with both police departments, Edwardsville and Bonner Springs, and that came out of the survey and just the well-being of our first responders, and it really is a need there and a way of reaching out. So there's a lot of things if you want to get involved in the community, and pass this on to people. Once this becomes official and there's an easier link to it, I'll get that out. But this is what's coming, and this is really a neat. I'm excited about this. This is pretty neat.
Place to go for those type of opportunities.
And one last quick thing is, and I've talked with our codes enforcement officer, but other people, Chris and the ladies at City Hall or anybody, if you hear of people in need, then that's how we start plugging in some of the needs and targeting certain people, whether it's winter or storms and limbs are down or things like that, or
Snowing.
so, okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, staff, and for the budget work and everything, and definitely for this agenda as far as the schedule of work. It looks like you can somewhat say start work October, end work October. I mean, that's the vagueness I wanted.
Yep.
But line 27, 8 days for bath accessories seems a little excessive. So might want to address that.
Those specialty health bars, take a minute to
No,
order.
Thank you all for that work, appreciate it.
The utility payment drop box, I guess there was the theft of materials that were in it, correct?
Series. Yeah, so this is the second time, unfortunately, that has been broken into, once at our previous location, and now.
I didn't know if did we do anything through social media or anything to get the word out? I hate to see somebody who's dropped a payment there,
Right.
think they paid their bill, and all of a sudden they're getting a notice in the mail.
We've addressed those as they kind of come through, so if somebody has paid their bill, usually what we're doing is we're just talking with them and figuring out, okay, when did you pay it? We've been able to kind of glean, at least again, this is the second time unfortunately this has happened. So again, I think Philly and her staff have been working directly with those individuals as they've called in. If they have, payment has gone missed, because again, we do have a pretty good.
Late fees or anything if necessary because of that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there
we-
cash?
There
Or
should
just
not be
checks?
any cash. We've always
Oh, you
notified
don't
people
have
with
You
checks.
should have Western install one of their new lights above it. They gave it in there.
It says on there, don't put gas in there, so.
Okay, I didn't know if that's why they were trying to.
Well, it's just the fact that somebody puts a check and they think they paid their water bill, and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, they're getting a late notice with a fine, and
Shut off.
your service is getting ready to shut off, and they're like, I paid my payment.
That's
Okay.
really the only way they
It's
get a
just waiting for
penalty.
them
They
to-
call and say, hey, I paid, and we say, when was it? And we waive all the fees and everything, so.
And then I noticed you didn't highlight, you have it in your city manager's report, About the groundbreaking ceremony.
Oh, I was gonna leave that to the mayor.
Never mind.
Nice pivot. All right, Ann.
I'll leave that to the mayor as well. I'm done.
Good.
Okay. Go ahead.
On the Spring Creek, I thought I'd mention and I've got a picture here that shows some of the deterioration past this around. You can see on the upper side, oops, and naturally we just went away. Here are some of the vacation pictures. And where is it? Just as soon as I get that.
I hope there's not pictures I don't want to see on there.
Here it is. All right. Around this top area, you can see where the rocks have slid down just in this last year. And so if you look at that,
But I'm touching the screen.
I'm not touching the screen, otherwise you'll see my granddaughters, okay? But this is stuff that's been happening just since this summer, how this rock has slid down on the side because the rock that was in there has deteriorated. It wasn't really rock, it was shale. And all the shale over time, in the winter time, it splits up because of freezing and thawing, and then it gets washed down the stream, ends up at Dale Herring's area of the creek where it goes around the curve down there. And so he's getting this buildup in the middle of the creek. Looks like the creek is split in two because of all this water that's washed all this rock down. Now, it continues to get worse and worse. I don't think we're in danger at this point, but if we don't do something for long, it's going to be more and more expensive to fix. I think a lot of the shale should be removed at some point and real rock put in there of a significant size that's not going to wash away. The rock, the shale to put in, yes, initially it was huge and wouldn't wash away, but winter after winter it freezes, thaws, breaks up, and it's gone. And so that's what I was talking about. And this is the city's responsibility to take care of this creek. It's part of, I believe it's actually part of our wastewater and what water? Stormwater problems that we have here, and he's working on addressing that. I know he's, but I just like to point this out. This is a significant problem, and so trying to make everybody aware of that, so when it comes up, you can think back, oh yeah, Bob talked about that, he was one of his rants and so forth. So other than that, that's all I'm going to bother you with tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I did want to say one thing about the website that Mike talked about. Could you send that to all council people or whoever else wants that? Because I
I
like
think that's
that.
what he's coming to have her.
Because I was,
She'll send it.
yeah.
And I saved this, I can send it out.
Okay, and that would be great, because I saw some things on there that I thought some people might be interested in. Yeah.
And talk to your ministers about that. They've all seen this website too, and populating it or putting the projects on there that are one day, one person project. or
Yeah, I thought that was
5 day.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and those are in the,
They're in that survey
In
that
the
I handed
survey,
out.
and they'll-
They're like that. What he's doing is just capturing it
Right.
in a simple form here, so.
yeah, they're aware of it already. Anything else?
Oh, one more thing on the
Yes.
creek. Thank you. The city did come through and kill the weeds once this year. That was much appreciated. You can see where they killed that in this picture also. On the backside, though, there was some weeds back there, and that's what's grown up since that, so maybe it needs to be done again. They usually do it at least once, maybe twice a year, and so far it's once, but I know summer's not over. So anyway, thanks for all the work they have done on that.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that all the stormwater facilities are a big concern. This has been one of the wettest year for not only our part of the country, but many parts of this country. And so it shows the vital importance, and the deterioration that we're experiencing pales in comparison to other parts of the country, but we need to stay and address those in the times when it's not raining, so we'll be ready for the next time it does rain. So replacing some of that riprap, whatever the ultimate remedy is. Those are things that need to be done, and that's why we need to be appropriate in our capital respect for this stormwater utility. I had a couple questions. The Leavenworth County Master Plan that they're coming, is it also addressing stormwater?
That, I think it has more to do with zoning and urban growth areas than utilities, and things like that.
We've had concern with stormwater on Wolf Creek, and I don't know what the status of those concerns are at the present time, but I did notice today that they're working in the tributary to Wolf Creek right along State Avenue by that construction company, Miles Construction, I think it's still Miles. Anyway, there's a big ditch there along State Avenue, or 2440, that is beautifully lined with rocks, way high. But they were in the bottom cleaning that out. I'm sure that's wonderful, but a cleaned out creek also facilitates the water rushing very fast into Wolf Creek, and that's maybe some of the concerns we've had. So I passed that along. I don't have any other, I just recognized it. I don't have any direction for that. The status of the CES project, I know there's still a road that's closed down there, or what the...
They're still working there. They're not at a substantial completion stage, I don't believe yet. All the water lines are in, but they have some sidewalk work and some other things they've got to do yet.
So sidewalks are in.
I don't think they're all in.
Oh, I'm sorry. The water lines are in.
Yes.
They're working on sidewalks, I guess curbs and gutters also.
I believe there's also a retaining wall or two in there that they need to complete yet.
And then after that, they'll be resurfacing roads.
They won't be. That'll come under a different contract.
So is this current phase behind schedule or on schedule, or?
At this point, it's still on schedule with all the rain we've had. They haven't been charged working days.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah. So they're not behind yet, technically.
Okay.
We would love for them to be done, of course, like everybody else, but technically they are not.
Do you have an idea of when they're expecting to be done?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. We need to stay on top of that and make sure that doesn't go outside of our expected window of opportunity. There are some citizens down there that are being impacted, and they really appreciated the forewarning of when they were going to be impacted that the last contractor did, and are very displeased with the limited amount of warning they have of any impacts that they're tolerating barely right now. So some of the elder community in Bonner Springs might take additional information to stay on top of those concerns. That kind of alludes to what one of my phone calls was about. Yes, and I do have a big announcement that I'd like to make. The groundbreaking ceremony for the new police headquarters and the renovation of the 1918 building will be held on Saturday, August 24th at 12:30. After the awards, I believe, hopefully all of us and any other dignitaries that would like to make the trek a block over to the area of the police station where there will be a groundbreaking ceremony.
It's not money.
It's
not money.
Well, we may be able to make accommodations.
Put on your woolies, let's do it.
Yeah, it will probably only be about 150 degrees out, so.
Approximation.
Also planning at the mayor's banquet to have an opportunity to unveil the time capsule that was in the old city hall, and have opportunities for those of you that would like to put some memento, small memento or note inside of the next time capsule. And, right, that's the plan. And you'll be able to bring those to the Mayor's Banquet, or we could shortly thereafter to the groundbreaking. Other than that, that's everything. I've been fortunate to spend some time away from Bonner Springs with family, and am glad to be home. Traveled by car with multiple carloads, so I survived, and so did they. No, didn't this time. No. Other than that, you continue to have open lines of communication through regular meetings with the Wyandotte County Mayors as well as the Wyandotte-Johnson County Mayors Council. Those continue. If anybody has any questions, concerns of any of those, I can take, or questions or concerns, I can take either of those, please, anytime. Let me know. Otherwise, I stand for questions.
I do have one thing, not really, it's a question more for staff, but based upon what you were talking about with the CES project. You mentioned most of the construction was complete. Wasn't Murphy Street appears to be still closed, section by Shaggy? But the construction is done, but the street's closed, or?
I said the water lines were done. They still have work to do on the streets and gutters and sidewalks.
Okay, so this, even though the street's closed, it really has nothing to do with the water line?
That's right, the water lines are in and functioning.
Okay, but the street is in such disrepair because of this that we have to wait until the street, the work is done?
Yeah, they need to put it back.
Okay.
And some of those little temporary fixes for the places that they've cut into the road
Okay, yeah.
have washed away more than they've not. So you might have to dress those areas up. I would think that would be something they'd want to do.
That's correct. And we'd want to do that before we overlay as well.
Oh, that, yeah, and have it in there for a while.
Might be helpful if they had to put more rock in there for now, so if they're not going to get to it before Timbo days.
That's my point. Very good. Anything else? Seeing none?
Go grab some snacks.
I got a question.
Yes.